And today's guest on Manaw at the Table is Barbara Murphy, a regional healthcare operations leader with over 15 years' experience in health management and patient-centred care, currently working with Boston IVF. Barbara also serves on the board of Going Beyond the Pink, champion breast cancer awareness and support. And Barbara and I first met while earning our executive MBAs at Suffolk University and quickly bonded over our Irish roots. And true to Barbara's lifelong commitment to learning, Barbara is now pursuing her doctorate at Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you, Martina. I'm honored, honestly, that you thought to include me in this. I love what you're doing and how you've been so involved and invested in women in leadership. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh no, we're thrilled to have you. And you've been, I feel, you're on even though you're in North Carolina, but you're part of our Manaw community here. And I remember when we were studying, you came to our launch party. So you're very much part of our community here.
Yeah, I love seeing it from afar. I wish I could be out there for all the walks and all of the events, but I can like the posts from afar.
Yes, exactly. All right, so we've lots to cover today, so we'll get going. So Barbara, I think one of the things when we first met was I think we I said in my intro, bonded over our Irish heritage, and you have dual citizenship. You have your Irish passport and your American passport, and of course you were born here in the United States. So what does that mean to you, your Irish heritage?
Yeah, I think at the root of it, what we kind of discovered about each other is I think we're gritty and we are, passionate about paving a way for ourselves. I think Irish women are fierce, and I think when the minute someone, hears your last name and then they're like, oh, you don't look that Irish, and then, we kind of get to talking, I've been working since the day that I could, and I think that is where that comes from, is that Irish heritage, and I'm very proud of it. I love how accessible things have become between the United States and Ireland, and how kind of involved and on the map they are. I only hope for more.
Good. And I know you love to visit Ireland as well, Barbara.
Yes, I wish I could get over there as frequently as you do. But yes, I do love going over. My soon-to-be husband needs to take a trip over there as well. He's never been, so I think it would be special to go over with someone who's going for the first time.
Oh yeah, and I always say, you have that, like me, you have that unique, perspective, that you're really understand the heritage, and you give them the true picture of Ireland.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So Barbara, talk to us a little bit about your career in healthcare and joining Boston IVF, and I guess what inspired you to get into that profession.
Yeah, I think, when I was in high school, I had these visions of becoming a doctor. And then when I started undergrad, I thought I was in biology, wanted to go to med school. I took a co-op for a group of surgeons who said, healthcare is going to change drastically by the time you have to pay all your student loans. Reimbursement is going to look different, and your strengths are in leadership. So that's when I kind of chose to pursue the administrative route. It was what I was good at, and I could still have an impact in healthcare, just from a different lens. So I've really enjoyed, having various experiences from front end, dealing directly with patients, back end, making a difference in the systems that we use, as well as now in the leadership capacities that I've had. Being able to influence teams, but also kind of troubleshoot with patients and really understand big picture systems and thinking ahead, and how are we going to make this better, and technology keeps improving, and how do we keep up. So having a little bit more of that strategy experience has been great, and it all required the foundation that I've had over the past 15 years.
Okay. And I know, from talking with you, from following you, professionally, that You're very much all about, boots on the ground. You're very much a boots on the ground leader. And I suppose that maybe, does that kind of go back to, that grit you talked about, from the Irish women and being resilient. So, talk to us about that style of leadership.
Sure. Yeah, I think that started at a young age. I think I had a couple of leaders that at one point in my life that were put into leadership roles without really ever knowing what we all do. So it's hard to lead people when you don't know the processes and the responsibilities that they have. So I've always, I took a leadership role at a very young age, and it was through working my way up. And I kind of approach it as like no task is too small, right? Like if I can see that my teams are stressed and they need to do something as simple as scanning things in or faxing something or calling an office or calling a patient, if I can ease that burden for them, I'm just going to jump in and do it because I can. It's a little bit humbling for me too, right? I need to be able to do these things if there's an emergency and someone's out. We can't let the simple things go by, but sometimes we lose sight. The simple things are sometimes the hardest things we do in the office. And so it's a way for me to better support my teams, but also to truly understand everything that I'm managing and responsible for. At the end of the day, when there's an issue with an employee or a patient, it's going to come all the way up to me. And it's in my best interest to understand where the issue lies, what I can do to fix it, and that I'm aware that it exists.
Yeah, and truly understanding, your organization, because if you don't really understand your organization and your people, I mean, that definitely doesn't make for a good leader.
Right. That is key, especially as my role has evolved here. So I think I skipped answering one of your questions about what led me to Boston IVF. So let me backtrack to that. One of my best friends was experiencing years of miscarriages and pursued treatment at Boston IVF in Waltham. And she luckily has had two great success stories, and she has two boys. But she, after many visits, as we'll probably discuss in fertility treatment, you're making many visits to the office. And she just kept telling me, I think that you should try working there. It looks like it's a great place to work. It seems like something you'd be really good at. They really need people that are devoted to making a difference. And I looked for about 6 months, and then my role popped up. It was a role that was created in the organization due to our mergers and acquisitions at the time. So I have a regional responsibility, and that involves me traveling to New York, Ohio, Delaware, North Carolina, even just throughout New England. You have to be very aware and build that foundation at your headquarters. And like you had alluded to, you really need to know the business, because when you're out there supporting other states and other parts of the country, you're going to be relying on those resources back at home. I'm always needing to consult with someone in the lab, someone in the operating room, someone in administration, a physician, risk management, quality. So you need to rely on your team of people, and you need to understand how all those pieces fit together in order to truly carry that into across our network and make that a seamless process in all of our other locations.
Yeah, and you hear people talk all the time, Barb, you're only as good as your team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and so then, you have made a real commitment, Barbara, to ongoing, education, and that's really important to you, and you're currently pursuing your doctorate. So, what motivates you, to, I guess, keep returning to school?
Oof, yeah. Well, it's not the dollar amount, that's for
No,
sure.
no. Right?
So it's I think it's honestly it's a differentiator. I think going as we completed our executive MBAs, right? Now I'm at a level where a lot of my peers have an MBA. So what's next? What's the next thing that I can have to differentiate myself as I continue to pursue other opportunities? And So I thought this was a perfect avenue that aligns with not only my strengths, but what I want to know more of. And just to best position me for my ultimate goal, right? I would love to be a COO in some sort of healthcare company one day. But I think what the other thing that motivates me is just staying relevant. I think that there's this fear. I mean, a lot of my staff is younger than I, and they're so much more savvy with certain systems, and they can easily kind of get through a little process that I give them, and I'm like, whoa, can you show me how to do that? So not that this is going to teach me all of that, but I think just always keeping those doors open to how can I learn, how can I stay relevant, how can I be ahead of changes, just so that I can keep moving forward, because I think I don't do well just being complacent. I don't want to settle. I want to keep going.
Yeah, no. And then, of course, that in turn then, empowers your team, I feel, and you,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I might just be addicted to what's crazy and trying to be as busy as possible. But you know better than anyone. I mean, you're a hard person to keep up with. I do. I think it's drive. It's always wanting to accomplish something, and if this is the next goal or the next opportunity I have to show that I can achieve this, then I want to be there.
Okay. Good for you, Barbara. So now we're going to shift a little bit and, talk about, Boston IVF and fertility and all that goes with that. So tell us a little bit, Barbara, for people that are listening in today, tell us about Boston IVF.
Sure. Yeah, we're actually part of the RMA network. So we are EVRMA North America. We are all over the United States now, but Boston IVF started in Massachusetts, over 35 years ago. And we have a fellowship program. We do a lot of research. We have nearly 30 physicians located across New York, New England, North Carolina. We have affiliate practices. We are associated with Beth Israel and Harvard Medical School. And we have great success rates, and we are committed to providing patients the ultimate miracle of life.
I know, and Boston IVF has given that ultimate miracle to so many who felt they had no hope.
Right. Yes. Yes. Tens of thousands, if not over hundreds of thousands. It's hard to keep up, but we just keep going. It's a great feeling. It's a very rewarding career. It's a very rewarding place to work. As difficult as the journey is for a lot of folks, and that's why they're coming to us to begin with. We were able to ultimately deliver good news to many patients, which is a little bit different than many other fields in healthcare.
Right.
So,
Right.
though it's not 100%, it is generally, there is some success in there for everybody.
Great. So then, Barbara, talk to us a little bit, about the journey, from that first consultation, to that moment you said when you're delivering that good news.
Yeah. So you'll call you'll call any of our locations. You'll set up your consultation, and when you meet with your physician for the first time, you go over what has brought you in. So people are coming in for many different reasons. I think there's infertility, but then there's also same-sex couples. There's also patients coming in for cancer preservation. So they're newly diagnosed. They're going to be undergoing chemo, which impacts them being able to produce eggs. So we're able to help them in that way. So we go over the reason you're coming to us. You're going to work with a care team full of experts that are going to walk you through every step of that journey. And it's going to be nurses, it's going to be a team of admins, it's going to be financial counselors. I know you're going to, we'll talk about the wellness center, but that's an optional feature. And then, you come into our operating room, and our lab team, They're known as the first babysitters
Oh.
of your precious specimen. So they take great care of the eggs, the embryos, the sperm, until that is implanted back into the female. And then when we're able to give that great news that not only are you pregnant, but we get to discharge you to OBGYN, we celebrate that with you. It's very exciting for our patients to be able to get that news. And sometimes it happens over many different cycles. It doesn't always happen on the first one, which is okay. But then there's another layer to it though. We have patients that come to us because they've miscarried. So getting that great news of pregnancy is amazing, but they still have several months to go. So there's still another layer of that emotional battle that they're going to be fighting. But nothing is more exciting to us than after all that time, they deliver, they send us the pictures of the babies or they bring them back in. And that's why we do what we do.
And then I guess time frame you really can't. I mean, it's different for every individual that walks through that door, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's part of what makes our frontline teams, I think that's the most difficult part for them, is that they're treating a lot of the same types of scenarios. Even though every scenario is a little bit different, they're doing a lot of the same work over and over again. So it almost feels like you could become numb to delivering like the same treatment plans or talking about the same medications, giving the same instructions. So it's worrying about that kind of like fatigue with our teams. But at the end of the day, I think every time we revisit purpose and we get to share these success stories with our patients, they kind of get re-energized and able to kind of refocus on the next patient. Every patient is equally as important. So our teams are working really hard to make sure that they're delivering that news and those instructions to you in a unique way every single time.
Yeah. And I can understand, we both know, Barbara, healthcare, the burnout rate now is so high, and as we say, in a post COVID world, the
Yeah.
shortages of medical professions across the board. So I can
Yes.
yeah, so it's important to, I suppose, to keep reinforcing that each person that comes through that door, it's an individual, and they all they're looking for the best patient care.
Yes. Yeah, I think in a way, it allowed us to be a little bit more efficient because you become pretty savvy in a world where you're forced to be remote or find new solutions. And luckily we were able to discover that we can find more efficiencies in our schedule if we offer these telehealth opportunities to
Okay.
patients. So on the one hand, there are patients that love to come into the office, and I think we love having them in the office. So there's always that unique touch when you can get someone right in front of you. But in the busy areas in like Waltham, it can take you an hour just to get 20 minutes down the street, or what would otherwise be 20 minutes down the street. So to be able to offer that flexibility for patients up until they physically need to come in, it allows them to get going on their cycle. They get all the information that they need. The medications can be delivered to them. They can watch all of the educational videos. Then they just have to come in when it's time for blood work, ultrasound, and procedures.
Yeah. And
So it's a convenience for sure.
right, and remove some of the stressors for the patient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. One of the things we hear all the time, Barbara, is the talk of accessibility and cost, and there's lots of policy changes, and I understand at a federal level there's lots going on, and I completely understand some of this you won't be able to answer, but I've been reading that the cost can range anywhere from 12,000 to 25,000, and that's per cycle. So as you referenced there, it may not happen in that one cycle, and IVF is not fully covered by health insurance, depending on what state you're in. So like, what would you like to see? And we'll talk about at the federal level, in a minute, or however much of it you can answer. But I mean, what would you like to see happen, to make it
Mm.
more accessible for people?
Yeah, so of course I would love fertility coverage for everybody,
Yeah.
especially everybody who needs it. So, I mean, there's the first layer of that not every state is required to provide health insurance to employees. So you have that. I would want employers to be able to provide health insurance to all of their employees. Within the health insurance policy, I would like health insurance companies to offer a fertility benefit that actually covers all of the services that are needed. So you might have a fertility benefit with your insurance carrier, but it might only cover diagnostic testing. So in the grand scheme of things, you could still be responsible for $15,000 to $20,000 of an IVF cycle, even though you have a fertility benefit. It depends what it covers. Some fertility benefits require you to have an infertility diagnosis, and not everyone has an infertility diagnosis. There could be complications. There could be other reasons. There could be LGBTQ family building. Lots of other things that could be happening. So, I would like for that to start at the insurance carriers and also employers. Like if you're we're going into open enrollment season. As you're thinking about plans to offer your employees, look at ones that offer a fertility benefit.
Okay.
That's going to mean a lot to people because there are lots of people out there changing jobs just to get that fertility coverage.
Wow. Okay, so I hope any employers that are listening.
It's true, yes.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. I know Starbucks I think has a pretty good option for fertility, and there are people, even if they're not, it might be a stay-at-home woman who's focused on building the home or whatever it is, and she'll go get a job at Starbucks, or the spouse or whoever else will get the side job there just to get the benefit.
It's definitely a conversation that needs to continue, keep happening.
Yes, absolutely. Now the only downside to that is if we ever get to live in a world where that happens, which I would hope is in our lifetime. Realistically, would that be the case? I don't know, but we would have an enormous shortage of reproductive endocrinologists. So those are the physicians that treat our patients. They're called REIs. So if that was something that every state could offer and it was covered, the wait list could be 2 to 3 years to get in. And as many people are aware of a biological clock, even though IVF treatments can certainly help that, it's still, having to wait that long just to get in the door would be detrimental. But the amount of time we would need to get more of those physicians through med school, through that fellowship, through all of that training, we're looking at needing to make big strides on the educational side of things, but also at the federal level.
Right. So yeah, so our legislators need to look at the whole picture, as you said, both the education side and the patient side.
That's right.
Okay, okay. And you just mentioned there federal, Barbara, which was a lovely segue into my next question, which I know you're looking forward to. So, we're reading the news every day, the papers. There's lots of changes happening at the federal level, and from insurance reforms to proposed legislation on reproductive rights. And, how do you see these shifts, impacting these policy shifts impacting IVF access and patient care and some of your work?
Yeah, I think, we're navigating a lot of political shifts, and I think that there's a lot of competing news sources. There's a lot of misinformation, but then there's also a lot of good information, and then we're always being kind of challenged with, but what is a good source and what isn't, and like sometimes we know what is and isn't, but like do our patients have that same ability to decipher the difference between the two? So I think that luckily, we are still getting a lot of patients coming in, and they're asking good questions. And that's the best thing that we can do, is we can always encourage our patients to seek or validate all of their medical advice and questions with a licensed healthcare professional, and down to what medications are safe. Are my embryos safe here? We're moving to Alabama. What does that mean for fertility treatment? So I think it's kind of working with our healthcare professional teams to make best informed choices is what we're going to continue to do, kind of as we navigate these political shifts.
Okay, okay. All right, we'll leave the federal and the government there, all right?
We need everyone's voices and help in
Yes,
this.
I know.
So that's, yeah.
Yeah, and when you're dealing with lots of states, and there's a lot at play here for sure. You talked about Waltham, and you're headquartered in Waltham, right?
Yeah, we do. So our Boston IVF headquarters is Waltham, and then
Yeah.
now we're part of this EVRMA network. They are the RMA of New Jersey team. So right now we kind of have two large headquarters, which is great, which
Great.
gives, it opens up our network, gives patients access to care. So we're in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and Waltham, Massachusetts.
Okay, okay. And then in Waltham you have the wellness center, right?
We do. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. A little bit of a unique option, which is
Right.
great.
Yeah, so talk to us a little bit about that, and why do you think it's, important to treat the whole person?
Yeah. Yeah. So as you've probably seen on the site, the Wellness Center has a mental health program, which, by the way, today is National Mental Health Awareness Day, so appropriate for us to talk about that. They offer acupuncture, and they are also they have nutritional services. So nutrition, I mean, that goes without saying. Every disease, every diagnosis, but also just your well-being day to day, you can solve a lot of problems just by focusing on your nutrition. And we also, based on certain procedures, it's recommended that you remain under a certain BMI to have the greatest possible outcome. So we have teams that work very closely with individual needs to get you there. Now, in terms of the mental health, so it's obviously great to have that resource as you're talking through, the emotional stressors. You might have gone through a lot just before you even walked into our doors. So now you're getting all of this information, and it is a little bit information overload. So being able to speak with a counselor that can kind of dissect that for you and talk you through those steps and share a little bit about what this means and also validate how you're feeling about it. Because then as you start to take the medications, your hormones are going to shift, and then you're going to have another set of emotional challenges that you're probably going to want to talk through. I mean, if you're a single individual and you're coming in to pursue treatment alone and you're using a donor service, so if you're using donor sperm as a female, you're using your own eggs, or if you're doing another type of third-party reproduction where you use a gestational carrier, all of our third-party patients have to use our mental health counselors. So as they become an intended parent and they're using DNA from another source, like there's a lot of things that you have to talk through to make sure that you really understand what you're signing up for and that you're willing to take certain risks, and that what this means in terms of when you have the baby in front of you. So it's a great resource full of information, validation, and support. And then acupuncture. Acupuncture is, we offer that before and after IUI procedures and IVF procedures. And a lot of it can, increase blood flow to reproductive organs. It can kind of just help ease that stress and anxiety that you're going through. And then it can just help ease like other symptoms that you have or side effects that you have from using fertility medications, like bloating and other GI symptoms. So I don't think we ever kind of display it as like this does do all of these things, but our patients love it. They come in right before their procedure, they schedule time, to pursue the acupuncture right ahead of it, and they say nothing but great things. So we're glad to have that.
That's great. I mean, it's an unbelievable service, and I would imagine just having the counselors and that mental health part of it has to be huge for people.
Absolutely, yeah, because I think that there's a lot of people that come in and they think they're prepared. They think that they've got all their questions, and as they start to go through the journey, it's like, oh wait, I didn't even consider this, or this has now happened to me since I've started. Who can I talk to about this? What do I do next? So they're that great buffer between the physician and the patient to kind of always talk about those things, so that way when you have time with your physician, you're focusing on all the clinical information you need.
Okay, that's great. So do you foresee that then, Barbara, having wellness centers at throughout the Boston IVF, or not Boston IVF, but throughout the practices?
Yeah, we have I think the larger locations are a little bit unique in that they have, because of the high volume of patients that
Okay.
travel through there, they have more of a demand to offer those on site. Luckily, at our other locations, we have all of those available, but we would kind of outsource it,
Okay.
or like the mental health services would be available remotely. So our counselors down here in North Carolina, for example, are meeting with patients via telehealth. So we don't have those services right on site, but we are able to refer out. So it's still a very important part of the process, if we can't have it in our buildings.
Okay. Okay. And one of the things IVF has long been, recognized for is, groundbreaking research, pioneering advances in fertility care. And I'm just curious, how does all that innovation, translate into better outcomes for your patients?
Yeah. I think, one thing I can focus on here is that our physicians and our scientists are amazing. What they're able to learn and experiment with and research and report back on is truly phenomenal. And as we kind of have to keep up with the changing technology, there's always an opportunity for us to see what is the best technology out there and what's the impact it has, not only on our outcomes. I guess it would get to our outcomes too, because if it alleviates our staff from fatigue, burnout, then it's going to lead to better outcomes. So, for example, in the lab, if there's a microscope that or some other manipulation tool or something that they're using in the lab, and there's a new version of that, and it prevents them from having to spend another 6 hours a week at a lab bench having to do a very physical process, and then it also decreases error and leads to a better outcome. We're interested in that, and we have a team of experts. It's these scientists that they know what to look for. They know the technology that we need and why we need it, and to be able to rely on them to make those decisions for our organizations is crucial. And these are, they're the best of the best. They're published all over. They get to present at multiple society meetings. We have one coming up in San Antonio, which will be ASRM. Everyone from the American Society of Reproductive Medicine will be able to get together, and it's a very proud moment for everyone to present their research and their posters and kind of share what's been going on since last year's meeting.
Okay, that's great. And then also, Barbara, Boston IVF's their motto, which I love, is treating today and trailblazing for tomorrow. And I think that captures everything that the organization does. So how would you say that philosophy guides you and your work on a daily basis? And do you have any message for our women listening in today, or anyone actually listening in today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that something that I observed a lot when I was traveling a little bit more, and I had traveled with one of our embryologists, and we would be out to dinner often, and it's nothing for us to just be sitting there talking about eggs and sperm, and then you get some looks from people and they're like, Yeah,
Not
sperm. Why
that
are you
they
saying
are.
that out loud? Like, and then people just, they're curious, so they ask you what you do. So then we get to talk about what we do, and what we have found is that a lot of our patients in their 30s, this is becoming more of like normal conversation. Like you said, we're hearing it in the news, we're seeing it, we know someone going through it. But I think the parents of those ages of patients, those are the ones that are harder to break through to. Those are the ones that don't really know what this is. They don't know if they support it. They don't know what it means. They're confused because back in their day, these weren't the same issues. So it's really, I think there's so much opportunity ahead to educate those people that need to support the ones that are now going through it. And now the ones that are going through it, what I hope is that people continue to talk about it. I know there's still this, level of anxiety that a lot of people have where they're not as open about it. They don't want people to know that they used fertility treatment to conceive. And it's okay. It's certainly fine, right? It's everyone's choice whether they want to share that information. I just hope as we move forward that more people do, because it is more widely accepted and we'll be able to better reach those ultimate goals of getting, nationwide coverage and having more people in the field and understanding like truly what a miracle this can be.
Yeah. And do you think there is a stigma around it or not?
I think that there has been.
Okay.
I think we're moving away from it. I think culturally, people probably see some differences there. I think different parts of the country you're gonna find that different people kind of accept that or not. But I do, you used to sometimes when you can tell when you're talking to someone, you say IVF or fertility, and they're like, I don't know what that means.
Mm.
And then you say test tube baby, right? Like
Oh.
then some people will catch on and they're like, oh, okay. But like we don't want to call them test tube babies. I think we're at least getting it out there. Like now more people know what IVF means. And also more people understand the benefits and all of the reasons that people come to us. I think more of what the stigma is that people are thinking it's just a female infertility issue, when a lot of times we're treating male infertility.
Oh,
Yeah. So it can work both ways, and we're equipped to handle both.
okay. Interesting. Yeah. People don't think about that, Barbara.
Right.
But yeah. Okay. So, I mean, it's important, for you, and all of us to keep the conversation going.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. There's even something else that I find fascinating. I find a lot of the lab stuff pretty fascinating, but especially what they can do to things that are so microscopic. But what's fascinating to me is that you don't have to go through IVF. Now, the coverage part would be a little bit different, but if you have the ability to pay for it or pursue a financing lender or something, um, we're able to detect genetic abnormalities in these embryos. So if you're carrying a gene and your partner also expresses the same gene, and having a child together would pose a huge risk, we're able to assess that early on. So it's not even just the infertility piece, it's also, getting the healthiest possible embryo that you can.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, people just really have to think of IVF as as another, healthcare tool as well. It's
Yes,
right. Yeah, no.
absolutely.
Um, well, we're almost coming to the end, Barbara, but having spent almost 16 months with you
It's
every
never the
Saturday,
end.
every Saturday, right? We heard lots about your two furry friends
Yeah.
are very much part of your dog. So I want you to tell us how they're doing.
Yeah, Gus and Mia,
Yeah.
they're the little loves of my life.
Yeah.
Gus is my black lab, and Mia is my yellow lab. They will be 9 and 8 in January, but they are doing great. They are thriving down here in North Carolina. I think that they're probably going to miss the snow at times. That's a fun pastime of theirs, but overall they're great. They're awesome. I think one of the things that's helped patients in healthcare in general is therapy animals, and especially therapy dogs. And I can use them as my therapy every single day. Whatever stress I have, whether it's work or it's personal or all the other things I'm running around trying to accomplish, it is great. It's always good to have that little innocent, happy support whenever you walk in the door.
I think they give everyone, I think dogs, they just give us all that escape, right, that we need at times. And I know they're going to be part of something very big that's coming up in 5 days' time, right?
That's right. Yes, yes. They're officially, they might even change their last name too. Yes, we do. We have a little bit of a wedding coming up here, so we'll have a little cake for the two of them, which I'm sure they'll be excited about, in their favorite desired peanut butter flavor. So yeah, we're happy about it.
That's great. Well, we wish you all the best, Barbara, from Boston and Massachusetts and our an awesome community here. And I just love, you lead, Barbara, with just such, purpose and heart, and I just love that about you. So keep up what you're doing, and thank you for being on our Manna at the table today.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed my time, and thank you for thinking of me, and I hope we get to do it again.